In this demo, I'm an IT admin here at Wintopia, and we've been expanding data flowing into a remote monitoring and diagnostic center. We support wind turbines from all over the globe, and we're going to go in and look at some of the data streaming in from some wind turbines that we have. I'm going to show you the OCS portal, and then we're going to dive into the sequential data store and take a look at namespaces, streams, and stream types. So let's go to our demo. So here we are at the OCS portal, cloud.osisoft.com, and I'm going to sign in to my tenant, which is OSIsoft Events. So OSIsoft uses Azure Active Directory as the identity provider, and we have two-factor authentication set up, so I get a notification on my Apple Watch to authenticate. I'll sign in, and it's going to ping my watch, and I just got that notification on my watch. I'm going to approve it from my watch, and now I'm in. Besides Azure Active Directory, you can also have other identity providers in your tenant like Microsoft Live and Google. So here on our landing page, you can see the latest service updates to a service, and we recently had a new release for summary support and support and data views, so that's great. There's a resource usage, which tells you how many streams you've been accessing, because OCS is billed based on your usage, so this is where you would go to see that. And then there's a system health here as well, and if I click on that, you can see all the underlying microservices for our different namespaces that we have deployed into this tenant that's specific to this tenant, and they're all running well. If I open the main navigation menu on the upper left, you can see that there's all these different pages here to navigate and help manage all your data in OCS. So there's areas for data management, data collection, visualization, analytics, security management, developer tools, and then support. And that's where you'd find things like documentation. Let's go and take a look at the namespaces within this tenant. So here we can see that this tenant has 4 namespaces. There's several production ones, there's a development one, there's one in Europe. And so what's a namespace? So namespaces are kind of like a siloed database within my tenant that's also comprised of the microservices that relate to interacting with your data. And each namespace contains raw data streams, types, assets, data views. They're all isolated from one another. When you create a namespace, you can choose a region. So if your data needs to be stored in a certain region for regulatory purposes, or if you just want to have lower latency, this is how you would accomplish that. There are 2 Azure regions that we support currently, and that's the West US and Western Europe. And we'll add more as time goes on. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the data that we have in our production namespace. And so I'm going to go back to our menu and click on the sequential data store. Okay, so here we're looking at all the streams in the production namespace right now. And we can see that there's over 53,000 streams here on the bottom right. And what I'm going to do now is in the search box up at the top, I'm going to search for some streams that I'm looking for called active power. And so this search returned 10 streams for active power. Now I don't see active power in the name or the description, so let's try to figure out why it returned these results. So I'm going to go ahead and select one of these, and we can see some more details about the stream here on the right, including all this type definition information. But what I'm going to look at is the metadata and tags tab here, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that now. And here's all the stream metadata for this particular stream, GE06. So let's zoom into this so you can see it better. So taking a look at this metadata, I can tell that this stream came from a Pi server because I see a lot of the Pi tag properties here, like point ID and point source, that many of our existing Pi customers are probably very familiar with. So it's nice that we brought this forward here into OCS because that's the context our customers have invested in, and we are preserving that in OCS. But I also see some other metadata here, and there's one called measurement with a value of active power. So that's obviously what our search hit on. So OCS lets me extend and add additional context to the streams, which makes it super easy for me to find the information I'm looking for. We can see that there's another metadata field here at the bottom called turbine as well. So this helps me search for streams by turbine or by measurement. Next, let's touch on the permissions for streams. So I'm going to go to Manage Permissions. And let's start with the tenant admin. So the tenant admin has tons of power. They can do everything. That's one role. Let's look at another role. Let's look at the equipment vendor role. So maybe I want to share access to the stream with an external party, my equipment vendor, and they just have read access to the stream. And then let's take a look at the investor role. The investor doesn't really need any access to this stream because they're just counting the money. They don't really need to monitor this turbine in real time. So OCS has granular access control down to the stream level, and I can specify who is allowed to do any operation on the data stream right from here. Let's cancel out of that. And next, let's go to manage data to take a look at some of the data that's stored in the stream. And here we are. We can see that this query type is getting the last value for the stream, which was 1368, and that was written about a year ago. So we can see that there's some data here in that stream. Next, I'm going to go back to the streams page here, and I'm going to switch to the stream types. So I can see that there's 32 stream types in my production namespace. And what are stream types? Stream types are the schema for this stream. Some of them are pre-built, like all these pie ones here that you may see. And then some of them are custom defined. And so if I scroll down here, let's take a look at one of the more custom defined ones. I'm going to look at this wind turbine predictions stream type. So in the upper right hand corner, I'm going to click on the button and then say view type and look at the details for this stream type. And so this particular stream type has a timestamp and 3 other properties: air temperature, wind speed, and predicted active power. And so next, let's maybe take a look at some of the streams for this type. So you can see that that's a complex type. And let's take a look at some of the streams. So here are the 2 streams that were created from that type. And I'm going to go ahead and take a look at some of its data. And instead of just the last value this time, let's get a range of values. Okay, so we just got a range of values here. And so you can see that this particular stream has many properties of data being stored into it, right? We see the air temperature, the wind speed, the predicted active power, and then we can trend each property here on the right side. So one of the big differences with OCS is that it has a much more flexible structure for storing your operational data. You can define a stream that stores related data together that has values at the same index. So what is related data? It's data that's stored with the same index. So in this case, our index is time. So if you have data that's captured at the same timestamp, then you can store that into one stream. And we can make the data ingress and the storage and the retrieval of related data more efficient for you in OCS. We're seeing more and more of these complex data types, especially when it comes to IoT sensors and devices sending data from the edge. So that's the end of our demo here. So let's recap what we just saw. As an administrator for Windtopia, I had to configure the system to get value from our operational data that's located in both the US and Europe. And we saw how I used namespaces to store data in different regions. We were able to see how flexible streams are for storing operational data, ranging from very simple streams to more complex streams with many properties and multiple indices. We also saw how you can extend the context on streams with metadata that make it easy for you to find your information in OCS.